I've been down to the Mississippi Gulf Coast once in my life. That's it. We didn't fish or anything, so we're starting fresh on this podcast. I have a close friend who fished down there. He's fished down there quite a few times. And Richard, actually, he's fished with you recently in the past month or so. And he's the one that got us hooked up. So thanks, Greg. Appreciate you getting us together. And I think Richard and I have a good podcast, good episode getting ready to get underway here. But I want to start out, Richard, with just you tell us some of the species we would fish for around the Gulf Coast down there.
Man, the number one thing we like to target is the redfish. I mean, that's the low hanging fruit. They're so friendly to eat flies. Next, we see a lot of black drum. In the summertime, we're always going to chase triple tail. We'll be looking for triple tail every time we get on the boat. Jack, crevalle, cobia, pompano, sheephead. There's just so much to cast. You never know what you're going to see. You know, we sight fished flounder last year, which was really cool.
Really? Oh, yeah. Nice.
You could just see him laying there, like, drop the fly. He did it. Yeah. It's super cool.
I drug a fly across the flounder's nose one time, and it ate down at the beach
in
Florida. And I was as surprised as he was.
Yeah. They usually make it into the ice chest. I'm not big on releasing flounder. They taste so good.
Yeah, they are a good fish to eat for sure.
Yeah.
What about, I know you don't guide probably freshwater, but are there any freshwater opportunities down there along the Mississippi Gulf Coast?
There's a couple of rivers we catch some smallmouth in. Like, I think they're smallmouth. They're little bitty bass, basically. They're not smallmouth. They're little bass. They're small bass. We'll call them that.
Okay.
Up near the Wolf River, and really pretty water. And, not very many people do it. It's just something different to do. If you want to break out your 3-weight and have a good time.
Oh yeah, yeah. That sounds like a way to get away from the grind of every day. But
yeah,
you've got a big playground out there in the salt to mess with, and I've done a little bit of reconnaissance, if you will, Google Maps, that sort of thing. Looked at a few websites, and so full disclosure here. When Greg started going down there and started catching fish, I started kind of getting interested in it. And he was staying about an hour from Ocean Springs where y'all launched from, I guess, or close to it. But as he started talking about that, I said, well, if I were you, I'd just stay in Ocean Springs, and save that hour drive to the ramp.
Yeah.
And he came back and said, yep, Richard and I had a great day out there. We had a great couple of days. And he said, we stayed in Ocean Springs, and that's what we're going to do. And I was supposed to be on that trip, but we had to change some dates around. I couldn't get away. But he talked about it so much. And then at the end of our float that we were doing, he said, we're going to go on vacation down there. And I said, well, I think I'm going to look into that and see about going down there too. So anyway, we planned our vacation the other day to go down to Ocean Springs.
Awesome.
Yeah. And it looks like a nice area. We were just looking for something different. I wanted to go to Michigan, but couldn't get anything. And where I wanted to get, no houses or anything that I wanted to stay in. So anyway, I'm a rookie at the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and I want to learn more so that when I get there, I'll kind of have an idea what's going on. So I think our listeners will really enjoy this. So let's kick it off. From high atop the world headquarters of Southeastern Fly. This is the Southeastern Fly podcast. Thanks for joining us on this episode. Feel free to share this with your friends and your fishing partners. Hit the like, click the follow, sign up for the newsletter, and get a jump on upcoming events and new episodes before anybody else does. So who is our guest today on this episode of Fly Fishing the Mississippi Gulf Coast? He's a Mississippi guide. He owns Richard Smith Fly Fishing. Also owns the Chandeleur Pelican Fishing Charters, a lodge at the Chandeleur Islands. He's all about Mississippi. He comes highly recommended. You can find him at richardsmithflyfishing.com, chandeleurpelican.com. Please welcome to the Southeastern Fly podcast, Richard Smith. Richard, thanks for stopping by.
Thanks, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you. No, that's enough. Thank you. Seriously. Thank you.
The crowd goes wild.
Yeah.
I'd rather them go wild than go home, right?
That's it, baby.
Oh, Well, let's split these questions up a little. So,
Okay.
what I want to do is talk around the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And I want to call that inshore or near shore fishing.
Yes.
Do we need to have a boat? Can we wade that sort of thing? And then we'll flip over and talk about the Pelican
Hmm.
because I'm super interested in that. And most of the folks that have really listened to this podcast for a really long time understand why I am. So, Richard, what are some of the places you can fish if you're staying around Ocean Springs, Biloxi, Pascagoula, just that general area? And tell us where you're out of too. I don't know that I really know that.
Well, I'm in Ocean Springs, Mississippi. I live literally within walking distance of the launch, and there's so many places to fish. Now, a lot of people call and ask where to go on foot, and you're just not going to be quite as successful. However, you can catch fish on foot, walking the beaches, preferably in Ocean Springs, because it's the marsh and the bayous are more accessible. So you can get on the beach and walk towards the east, and you'll be in some good marsh and around some structure and piers, and you'll catch speckled trout, flounder, redfish, but mostly blind casting there. Other options are, and I've done this before, but I usually have my boat tied up behind me. You can drive down the beach in the summertime, and you'll see the jack crevalle just off the beach, just thrashing the water.
Oh boy. Yeah.
And if you catch one of those on foot, that's definitely a feat, but it's doable. And so what I'll do is I'll see them crashing instead of, I usually have a client with me. We're planning on going on the boat anyway, and we'll go launch the boat and come back, but we're always within waiting distance of the jacks, and they're just tearing it up. Just, and we call them hour jacks because when you hook one, it takes an hour to land it. I mean, they're huge. Um, but
So for the jacks, what weight rod do you use for those specifically?
man, I would like to have a 10, but we always have an 8 weight in our hand because we're red fishing. And then here comes a jack. And what are you gonna do? You're not gonna not cast at it. I mean,
Oh
come on.
no. Yeah, we can burn the reel to the ground and be okay
Yes,
with it, can't we?
that's right. I like it. Mhm.
So that water down there, if it feels like that water should be a little tannic color and a little stained. Is that the way it is, or is it
That
clear? Or
around the coast it is, because all the bayous pour in there, so it's very tannic. So the sight fishing opportunities are pretty hard along the beach unless you catch them tailing, which is definitely a possibility. Um, but once you get off the coast, if you can get to the barrier islands, or there's some near shore marsh near Pascagoula, Moss Point area, and past Christian, Bay St. Louis area that has some clearer water.
Mhm.
But that water is not wadable at all. But it's mud. Will lose you if you get in that. If you get
Oh
out of the boat, you're gone.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, no, it's but the water does clear up, and it's really, you can see as far as you can cast. It's amazing, and a lot of people just don't know about it.
Yeah. And there's some barrier islands out there.
Yes,
I can't recall the names of them, but it looks like there's a few passes through them and
yes,
between them
yeah.
and that sort of thing. So
And there's good flats on those barrier islands: Petty Boy, Horn Island, Ship Island, and Cat Island. Cat Island is amazing. It has everything you want: grass beds, bayous, shallow flats, oceanside, coves. It's just a fisherman's playground. I love that place.
and then how far is it out there to that island from
Cat
Ocean
Island
Springs?
from Gulfport, Mississippi, it's about a 7 mile run.
Oh, wow. Is it
Not
really?
bad. Yeah.
I thought it'd
Very
be like a
doable.
mile and a half or something.
Oh no, man, we have Deer Island that's about a mile and a half.
Okay.
But it's not as productive because it's just so much boat traffic, so many jet skis, so many beach
Okay.
goers,
Yeah.
it's a good place to go bikini watching.
So almost too close.
Yes.
Yeah, that one's almost too close. Where I could
It's
see
just
where you'd want to go a little further to get away
yeah,
from the people, and
right.
so do the fish. So that makes a lot of
Yes,
sense.
exactly. There's just a lot of pressure too,
Yeah.
and because it's
So
a
would you say that redfish are probably your main stay, or is it?
yeah, that's my number one fish. Like I said, I like the low hanging fruit. They're so forgiving. They'll eat flies. They're pretty honest. If you make a good cast, you're probably going to get eaten.
Yes.
If you make a bad cast, I'm not going to really tell you about it. I'll just say, oh, that was close.
Yeah. Right. 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 I've definitely made some bad casts at them.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can make a bad cast if it's not right, across their back. They may turn and eat.
A
the
lot
next
of times, that's what I'm saying. They're low hanging fruit. They're so forgiving. They can make a bad caster look really good.
and they pull. I mean, that's that's really the thing about them is they'll pull and pull and pull and pull
Yes. Yeah.
and dig and that sort of thing, which makes them a lot of fun.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
if we're staying inshore, near shore, that sort of thing, let's talk about rods and flies, terminal tackle, and that sort of thing. So, what are some of the flies that work? The rods we should bring with us, and if you could talk about leaders and knots too, I think that'd be
Okay.
very helpful.
All right. Yeah. A lot of people like that. So I, everybody has their own thing. You know, some people are 6, 8, 10s, and other people are 7, 9, 11s. I'm in the 6, 8, 11 category.
Oh, okay.
So, but I do have a 10, but for the most part, I'm going to carry 8 weight rods on the boat, and we can beat just about any fish we catch on the 8 because we use high quality reels. And you know, a fly rod isn't really a fish fighting tool. It's a casting tool. So we're usually in shallow water, so we're not having to do a lot of heavy lifting. So you can really point the rod at the fish almost and pull at a good angle and get better leverage. Like the average fish we caught these days were 20 to 25 pounds. We were all using 8 weight rods, and it did fine.
Yeah. So you're talking about not they're more for the rods are more for fly delivery,
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
casting and fly delivery, which makes a
Right.
lot of sense. So are you fighting the fish more straight on, kind of off the butt,
Yeah,
that sort
not
of thing?
straight on. Yeah, you're gonna you're gonna use a lot of butt. You don't on these big fish. You don't want to hold the rod straight up and down. You're not doing anything to the fish
Right.
at all. You know, it's going to be all about angles, getting the rod in the same you know, as low as the fish is, pulling against the fish at all times. When he turns left, you pull right. When he turns right, you switch your angle, turn left. But whenever I'm guiding, I don't care what you do. If you want to pull on that fish for an hour, that's fine. I get an hour break.
Yeah.
You're doing great, man. Keep
Yeah.
lifting.
Keep it up. Keep it up.
Shoot.
So, all right, get you back on track here.
Mhm.
What are some of the flies that work, and do you marry that up to what's in the water as far as food goes for the fish?
Yeah, we had to do that this weekend. I really like a mullet fly when I'm over the sand, but all the mullet died in this last freeze.
Mm.
So the redfish, we could see them feeding. They were tailing and eating over the sand, but they're eating these worms out of the sand, and it's a
Oh,
green worm. So the
okay.
closest fly that I have right now is purple bunny, you know, purple rabbit strip.
Right.
I don't have green yet. I've ordered some as soon as I found out what they were eating, and that really seems to work. It's just kind of mimics what they're eating, and I threw a mullet fly at them this week, and we caught some, but not as many as we did on the purple worm looking fly.
So, how long are these worms?
They're pretty long, but you know, I'm not throwing a fly that's too long to cast. So the fly is probably 4 to 5 inches long.
Okay, so
I wish I had
pretty
one
good
sitting here,
size.
but I do not. Yeah, it's a big fly, but
Yeah,
I use a little bit lighter eyes on it, so it still makes it, you know, kind of easy to cast.
yeah, right. Okay,
Medium eyes.
okay, all right. And then they're just pulling them out of the sand then.
They're sucking them out of the sand. Yeah, you
Oh,
can
goody.
actually, when you're pulling the sand flat, you can see like brown areas where they suck the sand to the like a muddy, and you know they've been
Oh,
feeding on those worms in that area. It's not really mud; it's just a darker sand where they turn the
right.
sand over, sucking the worms out.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So
Mhm.
it's kind of a dead giveaway when you see that, you know
Yeah,
which
yeah,
fly
you
to
know
go
you're
to
close.
now. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Huh. And then what about leaders and knots? But let's talk leaders first, and then we'll switch over
Yeah.
to knots.
So man, I really like uh to tie my own leaders, and I like to start off with a 50 pound, but with an Albright to the fly line. Okay,
Hmm.
and that's just because the Albright's just easy for me to tie. There's probably better knots, and then I'll scale that straight down to 40, 30, and then 20. And I don't like to go lower than 20. I used to go with a 16 class tippet. But gosh, man, these people come down here and they spend a lot of money to get here. They spend a lot of money on, you know, room and board,
Hmm.
and of course my services. And they get excited and they break off these fish with 16-pound tests because they're just not used to catching a fish this big. You know, a 20-pound redfish eats, or 20, 30. Cast a 30-pound this week. When they eat, it's just a lot. A lot of pressure on that line. So I stop at 20. That's as light as I like to go, and it's usually just maybe 3 foot of 50, 3 foot of 40, you know, maybe 2 foot of 30, and I tie on my 20, about a foot of 20 or so. But I
Yeah.
try to keep them under 9 feet. 8-foot leader would be fine. Just
Yeah.
keep them. So
So you want to turn that fly over,
yes,
which
yep,
can be pretty heavy flies.
yeah. We're going to be throwing some meat. I
Yeah.
promise you, because we're not throwing at little fish. These are going to all the fish we see are going to be over 30 inches, 35 to 38 inches.
Yeah.
And the big ones will be close to 50 to 60 in the summertime.
Yeah. Nice. What about your so as you're building this leader, what kind of knots are you partial to?
I like a blood knot. And so sometimes you have to use an improved blood knot on your 20 to 30 to make it seat right.
Uh-huh.
And all you're doing there is you're doubling over your 20 and acting like that's your single strand of line, and it'll seat better. And on my fly, I tie a perfection loop, and it's just a really small loop,
Yeah.
Very small knot, and the tag comes off the side, and you can trim it all the way to the knot, and it won't slip.
Yeah, and I think that's a little better than and I'll do a surgeon's loop or something like that sometimes, but the line, the tippet's pointing out the front or kind of cocked
Yeah,
off to the front side.
right.
So definitely perfection loop is definitely better.
Yeah, I like it a lot. And plus, man, I'm getting a little bit older, and it's hard to see. And the perfection loop is so easy to tie without glasses. So,
Yeah.
that's a huge factor.
Yes.
Honestly.
I understand about the older part. I was
Mhm.
talking to somebody today and I said, now I hadn't been eating powdered donuts or anything. This is
Natural.
a real natural color of my beard.
Yep.
So I totally understand that. And I have glasses and all that stuff, but hopefully with that age comes some experience that I can pass on to others too. But
Yeah.
so now we've got everything we need for
Mhm.
wading and near shore and out to the islands there that you were talking about. We love our food on Southeastern Fly. That's one of the things. Two things that people come back with when I'm kind of talking to them about an episode. One is love that we get to figure out where the good food is, because you
Yep.
don't want to go and eat at Red Lobster when you're at the coast.
Yeah.
And the other is now we know where to stay, and sometimes we know where not to stay, which is almost just as important. But Richard, so still connected to inshore? Where would we stay, and what should we do when we aren't fishing, and where are some of the best places to eat?
All right. So there's a couple of places I would like to. If I were you, if I were coming to Ocean Springs, I would stay downtown in any one of the little bed and breakfasts we have. Like the Ocean Springs Inn is right downtown. There's several VRBOs that are right down, in the midst of things. There's a there's some cottages that are within walking distance of Ocean Springs called the Ocean Springs Cottages. And the downtown area has just, like, if it's a blowout and we can't fish or rainy, there's so much shopping. There's a men's outfitters shop, Chandeleur Outfitters. There's so much things for your wives or girlfriends or significant others to do, and lots of food. So much food. It's and so I guess some of the places you would go eat for, if you want your just true Ocean Springs experience, you go to Government Street Grocery and you get the cheeseburger.
Oh.
But you don't come here for a hamburger. You come here for the seafood. So the very best restaurant in town is called Vestige, and the guy is a James Beard award-winning chef. So it's going to be a little pricey, but man, it's not every day you get to eat at a place like this. The next best place I would recommend is called Maison de and the guy that owns the restaurant is a fisherman, so he knows what's up? So when you come to the table, he's goes, hey man, we have fresh speckled trout, and he's not gonna be pulling your leg. Or if you say, hey, what's the speckled trout like? We got it 3 days ago. I'd probably go for the crab paws, something like
Mm-hmm.
that. So that's Ryan Jurich that owns that shop, and it's an amazing restaurant. Um, the other good seafood spots around are we cross the bridge every now and then and go to the Half Shell Oyster House because I'm a big oyster fan.
Oh yeah, me
And
too.
they've got good oysters and crawfish at Knuckleheads and Ocean Springs. Gosh, man, you're making me hungry, dude. You're killing me.
You're making me want seafood. So right back at you.
Yeah, buddy. Man, I could eat it every day. I honestly do eat fish probably 4 days a week, so it's ridiculous.
Out of all the things that you said there, all of them sound terrific.
Mhm.
But like if I'm staying somewhere a week or 2 weeks, something like that, and there's just seafood after seafood, that Government Street grocery hamburger,
Hamburger. Yeah,
cheeseburger sounds real good about the fifth or sixth day in.
yeah, it's a
You know,
palate cleanser, man.
yeah, yeah, and then I'm right back to oysters and shrimp
There you
and
go.
flounder and all that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
So thank you for that. That gives me some ideas, but it also gives some ideas to some of the others that hopefully will go down there
And
and
everything is within walking distance, and it's a golf cart community. You can rent a golf cart if you don't want to walk more than a mile.
oh
So it's a neat little small town. I think you're gonna have a good time. I can't wait for you to get here.
yeah, I've got a couple of clients that are from down there, and they come up for some reason. They come up here and fish with me. I still haven't figured out why, but we have a great time. Don't get me wrong; they're a lot of fun to fish with. But they live there, and I want to say they've lived there for 10 years, so they weren't born there or anything. But they absolutely rave about that place. How
Yeah,
great it is, how much fun it is, how enjoyable the people are, and just all great things to say about it.
and y'all are kind of from the South too, so you'll understand when you get here. Your people are going to talk to you, and
Yeah,
it's just
yeah,
how it
good.
is. You're going to be in the grocery store, and they're going to ask you, "Huh, where are you from?"
Yeah,
I hadn't seen you, so
and that's okay.
there's
Yeah.
a lot of hospitality. It kind of puts the New Yorkers off, but we
They don't know how to handle that.
that's just how we are. Yeah.
So, staying with the inshore nearshore
Mhm.
theme here for a minute,
Yeah.
and we're going to move on to Pelican here in just a second.
Oh,
But
cool. Cool.
tell me about a day fishing with Richard. Where do we meet? What do we do? Uh, near shore, not going out to the
Uh,
Chandeleur Islands or anything.
well, yeah, if we don't want to run far, we're probably. I can't. You know, a couple guys and I are sitting on some really big secrets down here
Oh yeah,
that
don't give me
a
that.
lot of
Yeah.
people don't know about. So we're going to fish near shore.
Okay.
It's going to be in really clear water, though. We won't have to take a long boat ride. But the near shore fishing, we're mostly going to specialize in. They're going to be smaller redfish, okay, in the slot range.
Hmm.
Not many over 30 inches, and lots of triple tail. That's a really fun thing to catch, and they're very forgiving like a redfish. They don't swim away, so we can cast and cast and cast to them. And if you make the perfect cast, you're going to get eaten. So you get plenty of chances to do it unless you accidentally hook the crab pot or the actual fish.
Right. Right.
Uh, so it's really clear water where we fish. If you're going to do an inshore trip and not run off, to the islands, and but a lot of small fish. Well, we
Yeah.
call them small. I mean, right now we're used to catching everything. We won't see a fish under 20 pounds. So whenever we do the small fishing, it's still fun. It's challenging, sight fishing.
Yes. Yeah. Hunt them down.
Hmm.
Make the right moves. Make the right cast.
Yeah.
Make the right play. So it's still a lot of fun. I've done both the big reds out at the islands, and I've done them the smaller juvenile or whatever
Yeah.
closer, and
Hmm.
both of them are a blast. You love those big pictures where your hands are really spread apart and all that, and
Right.
shotgun and doing all that stuff. But those little ones, quote unquote, little ones are still a blast.
They are, man. And my thing is, dude, I'm excited. I want to catch everything that swims. If I see a fish,
Yes.
we're casting at it. I mean, I don't care. And I've had some black drum snobs on the boat this week. They wouldn't cast to a black drum, and I'm like, man, cast. Let's catch it, dude. Come on.
Oh yeah.
But if it swims, I want to catch it.
We caught black drum one day. they were eating worms in the water. I
Yes.
can't remember what kind of worms they were, but they were up on top eating.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And if I would have had a dry fly, that would have been the most awesome thing I think ever would be to catch one
Mhm.
of those on a topwater fly,
Yep.
something,
Yeah.
anything that floats.
That would have been cool.
But we didn't, of course, who thinks to bring a fly that floats like that in that small when you go to, go to the Gulf. So anyway, there's a lot of different things you can do. Yeah. Don't be a snob on the black drum, because they are so much fun.
They'll sleep on them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I call them the ultimate game fish.
They
Also
are.
call them trip savers too.
Yes, they have been known to do that, haven't they? Yeah, for
Yep.
sure. But still, I mean, it's fun and they're fun to pull on. I mean,
Oh,
they pull different than a red, but
mhm.
I'm not gonna say they don't pull. They're not fun to pull on, because they are a
They are fun.
blast.
Yeah, I cast everyone I see.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this bay was full of them that day. You would have had a for sure a herd harm then.
Mhm.
That's a fact. So,
Yeah, good stuff.
um, well, I've been wanting to. Greg actually has been talking about the Pelican for about a year now. I mean, as soon as he figured out that it was out there,
Yes.
he started talking about it, wants to get a trip together. So let's move on and talk about it just a
Let's
minute.
do
But
it.
so it's a floating lodge at the
Yes.
Chandeleur Islands, a place that I love to go. So it's about an hour boat ride, a little over
Yes.
an hour boat ride.
Yes.
Uh, you have some sleeping quarters for I think 8. You have food. You for a group of anglers, you serve that. You have flats boats that you just. I don't want to misstate this. Basically, you say, "Here's a pole. Here's a flat skiff. Here's the keys. Be back for dinner." Is that kind of the way that it goes, or is
Yes, sir. Exactly. You can come back. We'll have lunch ready in case you want to come back for lunch, or we'll pack you a lunch and send you off with lunch. But yes, that's exactly how it goes. And we have a GPS on the skiff too. So with spots marked, if you're having trouble finding fish.
okay? Give us a 411 on the Pelican and what all you offer people that book that trip. How do we do that?
Man, it's the coolest thing ever. If you want to go, you just call me, text me, look on the website, and send us an email, and we'll get you set up. But what it consists of, your day is going to look like this. You're going to arrive at Ocean Springs at around 10 or 11 o'clock on a Thursday, say, and we'll load all your gear on the big transport boat, and we'll take that about hour and 10-minute boat ride out there. You're going to get there. You're going to jump off your boat and walk around the Pelican and just be like, oh, this is cool. That's the number one thing I hear. And they've been there 5 seconds. They're like, I can't wait. We're going to book again next year. Like, you haven't even caught a fish yet, man. Come on. And but while you're walking around getting the lay of the houseboats, we'll start preparing lunch and moving your bags into your room. And we'll start off with lunch. Give you a little prep skiff rundown on how to operate the skiffs. All of them have electric start, electric tilt trim. All of them have push poles, anchors, life jackets, and drift socks in case you just want to drift fish.
Okay.
And the first day after lunch, we're going to send you out on your own, and you're going to get the lay of the land. You're going to run into all the sandbars and figure out, what the island kind of looks like. And you'll come back for lunch. We'll have an appetizer ready, or for dinner, excuse me. We'll have an appetizer ready for you. Big lunch, the biggest steaks that you've ever seen. Dessert that night, and then cocktails all evening. And we start up and do it all over again the next morning, starting breakfast at 4:30 or 5, whenever you guys want to get up. And now that you know where to go, we'll kind of give you a better idea. If you didn't catch fish, tell you where to go next. Where to try, and even try to lead you out there. Say, hey, let's go here. And
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Eh,
I mean,
So
we're not going to just sit there and let you well. We want you to catch fish as bad as you want to catch fish. So we're gonna guide you the best that we can.
okay, so you'll go out with somebody if they're really struggling. Is that what I
Yeah,
was?
we have it. We have 5 skiffs, so we'll have an extra skiff, and we'll have everybody follow us in that one. Like the Pied
Gotcha.
Piper. So
Yeah,
everybody come here,
yeah,
and,
yeah.
and we can drift the flat, and it's pretty fun. We have VHF, so you can, if you're catching fish and your partner's not, you can kind of lead them where to go. But mostly it's a bunch of, shit talking, so
Yeah,
to
right,
speak.
right. Yeah. Sometimes your group can have mercy on you, and sometimes they can
Yep.
not have mercy. My group
True,
generally does not have mercy.
true that. Yeah.
Maybe for about 30 seconds, and then it's game on.
Mhm.
Have some thick skin.
But
Um,
we, like I said, we can't control the fishing, and I can't control the weather, but we can control the food. So, man, we feed you like you wouldn't believe, and we have a lot of Cajun flair with everything we do to kind of give you something different than what you're used to at home. And we always have fish. If you don't catch fish, we'll go out and catch you some fish.
okay.
So that's usually the last meal, and we'll have people that we'll talk to, and they're like, they won't even remember their fishing trip. They're like, man, you remember that etouffee we had that Eli made or whatever? And it's just like, it was so good, Like,
Yep.
yeah, that's where it's at.
Yeah, that's this podcast loves good food. I'll have to say
Yes.
that for sure.
Mhm.
Um,
Me too.
so my limited experience at the Chandeleur Islands is the fish are generally bigger,
Yes.
for sure. Uh, it's where I caught my largest redfish, and it- now you're further out into the Gulf than you would be from taking some near shore and even a long boat ride in some cases to fish areas. Uh, you're even further out than that. So, and we talked about rods and flies and hook types and terminal tackle and that sort of thing. So, let's talk about rods first, and then flies, and I want to talk about hook size and see.
Yes. I
I want to
want to
get
mention
your
that.
yeah, I want to get your take on that, and then terminal tackle. So what are some of the flies that work? Some of the rods we should bring, and that sort of thing.
So I always like a mullet. All right, let's start with the rods.
Okay.
I would bring an 8 and a 10 weight,
Okay.
especially if you come in the summertime because there's going to be jacks everywhere. And, you can catch reds on a 10 weight and it'll be just fine.
Yeah.
You can catch reds on an 8 weight, but it's just going to take you a while. Especially if they run deep, you can't lift them. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
But mostly they're on the flats, and that's why I don't mind just keeping it 8 because you're always pulling sideways on the fish. You're not having to lift straight up. And I want you pulling sideways on those jacks anyway, just because you don't want to be at there all night.
Right.
um,
I'll be back in time
so
for dinner.
yes, so 8 and 10s, but mostly, man, all I ever bring is my 8, and I've caught just about anything that swims on the 8. I've caught Kobe on the 8, big jacks on the 8, big bull reds on the 8, speckled trout, pompano, sheephead. Gosh, there's so many different types of fish you can catch out there, sight fish. Um, and most of the flies that we use are going to be in the summertime. I like a big mullet pattern that sinks fast. Okay. Um, I'm in the process of tying one right now. It's an EP mullet. No, it's not. Yeah, it's a SF fiber. It's reverse tie with some.
Oh,
Well,
yeah. Okay.
I'm
Yep.
about I'm about to flip this over and tie it on.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. I see.
so
I see it.
so that's going to be my mullet. And you just can't go wrong with just any kind of bunny. That just a bunny, just a rabbit tail. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Zonker strip. Purple is a good color. Olive is a good color. And if they're not eating that, they're eating white. Um, so those are
Oh,
your colors.
okay.
Yeah, if you, but I take that back. They will eat orange. I fishing with a buddy the other day, and I weren't eating my white fly, and he said, "Hey man," his name's Graham Talo. He said, "Open my fly box here and pick you out any one you like." And I opened the box, and every single fly was orange, just like that seducer behind you. Every single one. So and he calls it the Shandy Candy, so he believes that's the
Oh,
fly for Chandeleur. And I've caught a lot of fish on that fly too. So that orange seducer behind you is would work well as well.
okay. All right. Yep.
Um, but if you do tie your own flies, I'm gonna tell you, man, I really like the SL Gamakatsu SL12s, the stainless
Yeah.
SL12s. Okay,
Okay.
they just don't rust as quickly, and they won't break. So I have a lot of flies that I tied on the B10 stingers, super super sharp hook, definitely will break.
Right.
So these big redfish, they have crushers in the back of their throat. So if they gulp that fly back, they can actually break the whole hook just crushing it with their crushers.
That's
But
insane.
yeah, but it won't happen on the SL12s. I'm a B10 Stinger guy because they're so sharp. But whenever we're going after bull redfish, that I want something with some beef to it.
Yeah.
I'm looking at 1/0 or 2/0,
Okay.
big hooks, because we're
Big.
throwing big fish. Uh,
Yeah.
we're not messing around. Let's go big.
Yeah.
You
Right.
didn't come to Chandeleur to catch a 25-inch redfish. You know?
Good point. That's a long way to go.
Yeah, yeah. You
Yeah.
came out here for the big boys.
Yeah. And the experience out there is really something. I want to talk about drift fishing. You mentioned drift fishing.
Yep.
Uh, what is that? Tell us about that.
Okay, so we have push poles on the boat, but a lot of guys just don't know how to pole or are not comfortable with it and don't want to.
Hmm.
But we'll set up a drift, and you'll drift from the sandbar all the way to the mangroves, and you can stand there and sight fish because the fish are going to be somewhere. They're swimming, and you have a high chance of encountering one. And um, if that pays off, then you would idle back down the mangroves and back out to where you started and do that same drift all over again. And we have these little drift socks that each boat has that kind of slows the drift down for you, so you have a better opportunity to get more shots at the fish instead of drifting past it too fast.
So is the wind blowing you?
Yeah, the wind's blowing you.
Wind's
We don't have
blowing
a
you.
current. Yeah, we're not. We don't
Okay.
have any oars or rows or drift boats like you guys have. But we're going to be drift fishing, just drifting the with the wind
Okay. So
at the
the
mercy.
sock is just pulling some water,
Yeah, it slows you
slowing down. Okay,
down.
that makes total sense now.
Mhm.
Okay. I've never fished that way.
Yeah.
Uh, I've fished with a chain anchor before, which is I'm not
Yeah.
sure how healthy that is,
No,
but kind of the same.
it's not good for our grass, and it's also the fish hear that banging
Oh yeah,
on the flats. So
yeah.
we try to be stealthy, and so we have. I don't know if we're getting there yet, but we have top of the line flats boats for you to use. We've tried a lot of different ones, and there's a local boat builder who's a friend of mine named Hussein Zayed, and his boats are called ZCBs.
Uh-huh.
And he saw the problem we were having. Most of my clients, they only get to get on a boat once or twice a year, and they just don't have the sea legs like you and I probably have, you know?
Hmm.
So stability was huge, floating shallow was huge, and being able to pole was big. And small enough where I could run a small engine because I didn't want people going too fast and getting hurt.
Yeah, right.
So Hussein designed these 16-foot boats and named them after the lodge. They're called the Pelican 16.
Oh,
Super, super stable. They float in 4 to 5 inches. I rigged out with the 25 horsepower. They'll run 25 miles an hour, which is about as fast as you want to go.
plenty. Yeah.
I don't want you hitting a sandbar going any faster than that.
No, no.
And it's kind of cool. You know, you get turned loose on these boats and they're yours for the week, and you'll bring it in, we clean it up for you, fill it back up full of ice and cold drinks for the next day. It's a good time.
So you're truly going out there and fishing. That's your job, unless you're poling. That's my
Yeah.
job is to go out there and get a fly in front of a fish. I don't have much else to worry about, really.
Yeah, right. So yeah, it's a neat experience for sure.
It sounds like a fantastic experience.
Yeah, and
Uh,
just the nights, like we don't have any light pollution, so you get to see the Milky Way every night. You'll see satellites. A lot of people claim to see lots of UFOs. So,
yeah,
it happens, and it's just such a cool place. There's more stars out there than I think there are anywhere in the Earth. So
that's yes, because you are ways out there. Then,
yes, sir.
do you have a generator that runs at night, or what do you do
So
there?
we have solar power,
Okay,
and it will almost make it through the night. So we turn the generator on about 8 or 9 o'clock, and so you sleep through the hum of the generator, and
mm.
it kind of drowns out the snoring. So
Okay.
it's not that bad.
I've got some friends that you need 10 generators.
To drown the snoring out.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Well, let's talk about that a second because I think that's one thing that Greg explained to me. I said, "Man, I've got a CPAP thing and all that, but I don't want to be out there snoring and not know it, and there's other people around there.
Man, they'll throw you out. I promise you that. If you're snoring, you will end up sleeping outside. I've seen
Yeah, yeah, which isn't a bad thing, other than you wake up with little whelps all over you. But
yeah, yeah.
so what do you do there
Uh, for snores or for
for CPAP people, that
oh
sort of
yeah,
thing?
man, they have power. We have distilled water we keep out there just for them,
Okay.
and
Oh,
everybody has an outlet. Yes.
no kidding.
Yeah, you bring your CPAP, please. We
Yeah.
don't want you snoring.
Right. Right.
Nobody
Right.
does.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's why people don't like staying with me, I guess. But
Yeah.
it actually has stopped that, and I don't want to get too deep into this, but
Yeah, I
there was a
understand.
time where I would come in from guiding and take about an hour nap, and then
Mhm.
get up and eat and maybe watch some TV or tie flies or something. And I couldn't make it without it. And
Yeah.
then I got the CPAP thing and immediately quit taking those naps. Now I take a nap whenever I just want to, not because I
Yeah.
have to. So
Well,
uh,
we've reached the age where we've earned it.
I agree totally. I totally agree with that. The staying out there sounds so. Would you have to fish every day? I know this is a crazy question,
Man,
but
we have people that come and just read a book. They'll
yeah.
sit out there on the breeze, on the bow of the boat, and just look at the mangroves, the birds, and read, hang out. I guarantee we've had several people just that have never left. Some people go beach combing. A lot of people bring their wives and
Oh,
kids and just hang out. There's huge shells. I wish I had one handy. Uh, no, those are Bahamian shells. All the
so
shells in my bedroom.
huge shells.
Yes.
Oh, huh. What about so you deal? All right. So would I have to get in the boat, or could I? Is there a place to wade?
Yes. You can jump off the Pelican and start wading right there, and you'll
Oh,
catch fish all along the mangroves just around the houseboat.
no kidding.
Tailing reds right down the bank. It's cool.
What about how far is it over to the beach side, I guess?
All right. So you will have to get in the boat to get to the beach side. You'll have about a, I don't know, 200 yard, maybe quarter-mile boat ride to get to the beach, and then you have about a 100 yard walk to get across
Oh, okay.
to the surf. And we do that all the time. And a lot of folks, I had a guy last year. He just packed a backpack full of waters, his fly
Yeah.
rod, and a box of flies. We dropped him off on the beach, and he had his VHF, and he walked all the way down to the north tip, sight fishing redfish the entire way, and called us around dinner time. Said, "Hey, I'm ready to come. Come get me." And we ran down there and picked him up and brought him back.
No kidding. So just caught fish right off the beach, just walking it, and
Just walking the beach. Yep.
what a great day that would be.
Yes, man.
I
Nothing
am.
funner than catch fish on foot.
Yeah, I'm 100% boat snob, but
Mhm.
being out there just spending a day by yourself sounds like a real treat. I mean, if you like yourself enough to do that,
Yeah, right.
it's a real treat. But
Yeah, it's and I've done that before, and I always catch myself saying, "Man, I wish so and so was here to see this." It's so cool.
yeah, yeah. So I could get into that for sure. That'd be a great way to spend a day.
Yeah.
Huh. So it sounds like there's just a ton of options,
Yes.
and you all take care of everything.
Yes.
Uh, how long are the stays generally out there?
So if we left on a Thursday, like I was telling you at noon, you'll be there. You'll fish Thursday afternoon, all day Friday, all day Saturday, and we'll wake up and you'll fish Sunday morning, and we'll try to leave there about 10 or 10:30 or 11 because I've got a group waiting on
Oh,
Sunday
okay.
to pick them back up and come back out. Uh,
Okay. And then
so
just
it's
do that same thing
yeah,
all
we,
over
we,
again.
we do it all over again.
Okay.
Yeah. And then those guys, we don't have a trip on Wednesday, so they can stay a little bit later on Wednesday. But
Hmm.
usually my employees want to get home, see their dogs,
Oh,
wives, girlfriends, and stuff like that. So
yeah, because they're out there the whole time then.
yes, yeah.
Oh,
There's a reason why Wednesday's called Hump Day. They
yes,
come home.
yes. That's I wouldn't like that. I wouldn't like the whole staying out there and working all that time. That'd be tough on me personally.
Yeah, yeah. It takes a special kind of person, and we have. I've accumulated the right crew that loves it out there. I mean, they there's no other place they'd rather be, and
No kidding.
it shows in their view
And,
when they talk to you.
and in the hospitality business, that's not easy.
Oh,
That's what that is.
you got to be on the entire time.
Yeah.
There's no time for you to be grumpy pants. You
No.
have to be happy.
Exactly.
And there's no
Exactly.
hiding from the clients either. You go hide in your room and they start knocking on the door. Hey man, you want to come have a beer with me? Like, no,
Yeah.
I just want a nap.
Yeah.
Oh,
So you
shoot.
pretty much got everything worked. How long have you been doing this?
I just a friend of mine named Mark Stelly owned it and since 1983, and we
Oh,
bought the lodge. This will be our fifth season coming up.
okay.
So I'm working on 5 years.
So you got a good. You should be in a groove by now. You probably
We
are
are
in a
in the
groove.
groove.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we bought it, he was running 14 to 20 trips a year, and we have 64 on the books this year.
Goodness.
That's nonstop from the end of March till November 12th right now. Back to back to back to back to back to back.
Kind of off topic, sort of. But what do you do in hurricane season?
We have to drag it in.
Do you
Um,
really? Wow.
if a storm, we try. it The last few storms that came through, we couldn't get it in. It was too rough. We had torn it apart during the
Oh,
drag-in process. The waves were too big, so
yeah.
we just battened down the hatches and said a prayer and panicked. Basically. And now after the last storm, a friend flew his airplane out there and sent me some pictures. Said, "Yeah, you did. It fared the storm well. Everything's still floating, and all the skiffs were there. And didn't
Wow.
look like anything happened." So we
You left the skiffs out there?
yeah, we tied the skiffs up. We couldn't get them in. I'm telling you, it was 6 foot
Wow.
seas, and the
Oh,
storm wasn't even in. It hadn't even crossed the Florida peninsula yet. It was still out in the Atlantic, but the wind had already picked up, had the seas knocked up to 6 feet, and just
yeah.
couldn't get it in.
I bet you were sweating bullets, weren't you?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a special kind of stress.
Yeah, it really is, isn't it? How'd you anchor it down?
Well, all right, this is a neat question. I wish I could show you, but there's a round disc, uh, and it has 7 anchor points around it, and I have 7 anchors going in all different directions with a swivel in the middle. So the houseboat spins around with the wind on this swivel, and so it's always has a good anchor point at any direction it's facing.
So where is that anchor point? Is it under the boat?
It's almost directly under the boat. It's about
Okay.
5 feet from the boat. We have a
Gotcha.
little bit of fetch coming off, and it spins around on that thing pretty easily.
No kidding. That's wild. Did you think of
It's
that or was that thought of?
No, the previous owner, man, he is a master carpenter and just man, I consider him a genius. He can figure anything
Yes.
out. If you see the way this thing, he built it by hand, like by himself, and
Wow.
he thought of everything. It's pretty cool.
He did, didn't he?
Yes.
So he's sitting out there one day getting blown sideways and said, "I'm going to fix this problem."
Yes, he did. He sure enough figured it out, and he's lost a couple of them now. He lost a couple barges during Hurricane George in 1998. He lost 2 barges in Hurricane Ivan that hit Pensacola,
Mm-hmm.
and then we've been pretty lucky since then.
Hurricane George, that's the only hurricane I've ever tracked from basically the time that it got into the U.S. waters all the way till it hit land because we were in Mexico Beach, Florida,
Mm-hmm. You're a
and
little nervous.
a little bit nervous. We knew we could get out of there, but the waves were bigger than I've ever seen them anywhere along the coast.
Yeah.
That for about 2 days they were well over my head.
Yeah.
So yeah, and Mexico Beach is protected by Cape Sandblast for the most part,
And
and
it's still big.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
very big.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I was doing in September of 1998, or
Yep.
yeah, August or September. I think it was
That was
September. Yeah,
that was
September.
September 29.
Yep. That's where we were. So, well, we're starting to run a little long on time, but I'm not
Sorry
going
about
to let
that.
you. I'm not going to
I'm
let you
very
get away.
loquacious. It's tough to keep me from talking, brother.
Well, I'm not going to let you get away without asking that one question that
Uh,
everybody has to answer. Uh, Everybody has an answer for it, but everybody's answers are always just a little bit different. So I want you to just tell us about the one that got away. Tell us your one that got away story.
Man, gosh, you know, it's really this is the most recent one that's on my mind is the one that almost got me. I was out there at the Pelican. I just left Pelican, and I was on my way home, and I wanted to pick up a small redfish for dinner that night. So I stopped on the sandbar, and I'm waiting, and there's a few reds around, and I look to my right, and there's a bull shark coming at me.
Mm.
And he's just easing down the bank like they do, and you can generally stomp your foot, and they'll just take off and run. So anyway, um, I stomped my foot, and it decided to come right at me, and it's coming hot, like mad, fast.
Mm.
So I get my fly rod, and I try to hit him with a reel, and he keeps coming. And at the same time, I just jumped in the air and landed on top of the shark.
Duh.
The
Okay.
shark wraps in my fly line and takes off. And you know how you're fly fishing, you hold your fly in your hand and your rod in the other hand. Well, anyway, when he took off, the fly lodged into my finger, and he's just ripping, pulling on me hard. And finally, the line breaks. And and I'm sitting there thinking, like, I'm panicked. Like, man, I'm sure I'm eating. I know he bit me somewhere because it was
Yeah.
just a melee. And count all, 10 fingers, 10 toes. I'm alive. I didn't get bit. I'm good. And then I look and I see my, $1,200 sage fly rod and, $800 T-bore reel heading down the sandbar at Mach 2. So I'm chasing it down and have to dive and catch my reel, and the shark was all tied up to my fly line still. And that's the one that got away because I let him get away.
Yeah. Yeah.
We popped the fly line and chasing after my rod. I lost my pants. It was chaos. And I look over, and my fiance Teresa's sitting in the boat, and she's laughing. I'm like, I almost died, and you're
Yeah.
laughing. She's like, that was the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Sound like my friends.
Yeah, right. Like, I'm getting eaten by a shark, and you think it's funny? She's like, oh, it was hilarious.
Oh, that is funny. That's scary funny, but
Yeah,
funny.
it's funny now.
Yeah, right.
But
Uh,
yeah, that's probably my best fishing story I've got from the most recent from this summer. Uh,
I've heard stomp your foot and they'll turn and take off
or they'll eat you.
or eat you. Yeah, yeah. But I was at we were at St. George one year, and I got up real early, and it was just spin fishing. Just
Mhm.
went out there, and I was standing in it was maybe deep, maybe knee deep water, and this pretty good sized shark, longer than me probably total. He's just cruising up between the first sandbar and the beach, and he was coming kind of toward. He was going to pass me,
Yeah,
but
hopefully.
it was a little closer than I wanted him to be, and I
Mhm.
could have backed up out of the water, but I thought I just stomped my foot. So I stomped my foot. He turned and started toward me,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden he thought, "Well, that's a bad idea. I've never seen a fish, and I've caught sharks. I've never seen a shark move as fast as that one did." He turned toward me and then turned away from me, and he went across that first sandbar. He was going so fast, but my heart was beating like you would not believe. It was unbelievable. All this happened within about maybe 10 seconds. And from the first time I saw him stomp my feet, he turned toward me. I thought, oh gosh, I'm dead. You know,
It's gonna go one or two ways.
yeah, yeah. Fortunately, he went away from me. So anyway, yeah, I can't imagine jumping up and landing on it, but
Yeah, that was terrible because I could feel him squirming. I was like, I know I'm getting bit, and
yeah, yeah.
it was awesome.
WWE, WWF.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. I got back in the boat. I did not have dinner that night. I said, let's just get home, please.
Yeah, right. Yeah. We can eat gas station hot dogs or something.
Absolutely, man. Government Street grocery hamburger.
Yes, exactly. Well, we probably better close this thing
All right.
out. So thanks for joining us on this episode. Hit the like, click the follow, share it, share it with your friends if you get a chance or when you get a chance. If you could just share it via email, the episode via email or text with one of your buddies, that'd be awesome. Sign up for the Southeastern Fly newsletter, get a jump on upcoming events and episodes. And so, yeah. So, who is our guest today on this episode of about fly fishing the Mississippi Gulf Coast? He's the Mississippi guide. He owns Richard Smith Fly Fishing. Also owns the Pelican Fishing Charters, a lodge on the Chandeleur Islands, which sound awesome. You can find him at richardsmithflyfishing.com or chandeleurpelican.com. Really appreciate it, Richard. Just a lot of good information, and that's what we live for here. We want to garner information, and just really appreciate you stopping by and hanging out with us for a little while.
Yeah, enjoy visiting with you, David.
Yeah. You just listened to Richard Smith, Fly Fishing the Mississippi Gulf Coast on Southeastern Fly, and we'll see you next time.